Shalom, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. There's few people that I already recognize from our previous tour. We are now in our last tour for today, and we are really lucky to end our tours with the Shlomo Tal. Shlomo is going to take us to the Western Wall tunnels, to the Kotel tunnels, and to show us the underground secret places that we have in Jerusalem. Shlomo, we are ready.
Thank you very much, and welcome everyone. We are going to travel today to Jerusalem on a very special day. When we celebrate our state's independence, 73 years. And today we will celebrate it together in Jerusalem. My name is Shlomo, and I work at the Western Wall Heritage Foundation. And this tour is going to be in the Western Wall tunnels. So before we begin, a couple of things about some technicalities. As I mentioned, always, and when I say always, you know, we did several hundreds, maybe almost thousands of tours around the world in these Western Wall tunnels. We didn't film this tour once and delivering it throughout the world. Every tour is unique because every tour is for unique people that are joining our tours. So, and because of that, it's me sitting here in my home in Jerusalem, but traveling in the Western Wall tunnels through this virtual reality. I can turn right, turn left. I can return back to certain places. And there's always space for questions. While you're asking a question, please just unmute your microphone and ask a question or write in a chat. I will be checking my chat box once in a while. In any case, while you are not asking a question, please pay attention that your microphones are muted so everyone will have the great experience, and all the background noises will be eliminated. In any case, if I will pay attention that it happens sometimes that people don't pay attention and their microphone is unmuted, so I will close all microphones from my side like I did it now. Please do not take it personally. That's for the best of everyone's experience. And here we are in Jerusalem by the Western Wall, Hakotel, the place that during the year before the coronavirus was visited by 12 million people. What is the secret of the place? How can it be so that so many people from so many different spiritual and social, economic, and religious backgrounds and whatnot, people come to the Western Wall? So this part of the Western Wall that we see today is only 57 meters, something like 170 and something feet long. And the Western Wall is much, much longer. And once upon a time, it have been much, much higher. So during our tour, we will go underground and we will travel in the underground tunnels, which will reveal to us the history of the Western Wall. Before we will go inside, I would like to pay attention to one small detail. If we take the Western Wall on our left, which is towards the east, and we will see the Jewish quarter, the living quarter of Jerusalem, which is to our west, you probably pay attention that there's a valley in between. There are lots of stairs. If you go up to the Jewish quarter from the Kotel, you know that you will go lots of stairs up there. And this valley in the middle played a very significant role in the history of Jerusalem throughout several thousands of years. So let's go inside, and we will travel immediately inside to this building. The building, the lobby, and the building which we are entering, this is part of the entrance building to the Western Wall tunnels, and some of the offices here is actually a very special building. At 1912, a Jewish American philanthropist, Nathan Strauss, he arrived to Jerusalem. And when he arrived to Jerusalem, he just fell in love with this place, and he felt fascinated by by Jerusalem itself and by the people of Jerusalem. And he was supposed actually to go up on a boat, very special boat that would, very special, the biggest boat in the world, with his brother Isidore Strauss. They were both owners of Macy's in the United States. So because he stayed in Jerusalem, he missed the boat, and the boat was Titanic. His brother and his brother's wife, they died when Titanic drowned. And Nathan Strauss, he was sitting Shiva here in Jerusalem. And after Shiva, he said, Jerusalem saved me, and that's why I have to invest into the city. And at this place, he opened a soup kitchen that was delivering up to 1,600 meals every day to the poor people of Jerusalem. As you can see here in this specific building, Beit HaTavshil HaKlali, Nathan Strauss, that was his establishment here in Jerusalem. And, you know, beginning with the heart and soul of Jerusalem, which is kindness and unity and people taking care of one of another, we are entering into the Western Wall tunnels and entering into something like time tunnel, which will take us to the ancient history of Jerusalem. As we are walking through these tunnels, we will enter first into one of the introductory rooms where I will give you the very brief introduction to the history of the Western Wall. What is the Western Wall, when it was built, and how it was hidden and how it was revealed? Because as you can see here on the screen, right, the Western Wall during the times of the Second Temple was very, very long. It was about half a mile long wall, and out of which only this 170 something feet, that's what we see today. So how it happened, we will begin with a short introduction on this slideshow, which will take us back in history to Jerusalem since the beginning of the days. So please do not pay attention to the walls. The walls are something like the comparison to how the Temple Mountain looks today. But back then it was a mountain, it was a hill. You know, in Israel, every lake, we call it a sea, every hill, we call it a mountain. This is the nature of the city. Everything is a little bit small, but very, very, very concentrated. So the Temple Mountain, Mount Moriah, on the top of the mountain, there's a stone we called a foundation stone. According to the Jewish tradition, the creation of the world started from this specific place. This place was visited by Abraham and Yitzchak. The binding of Isaac, Akedat Yitzchak, happened here. The dream of Jacob was about this place. You know, the ladder connected to earth, its head going up to the heaven. And according to the Jewish tradition, all the prayers and all the connection between the physical and the spiritual reality is happening through this specific place. About 3,000 years ago, King David arrived to this place, and on the southern part of Mount Moriah, he built our eternal capital, Jerusalem, and his son, King Solomon, on the top of the mountain, he built the first temple. As you can pay attention, probably there were certain walls to Jerusalem, but the topography was natural, and there was no Western Wall back then. The first temple is standing here in Jerusalem for 410 years. The Babylonians, right, they destroyed the temple, took the Jewish people out for the 70 years of exile, and then we returned back and rebuilt the second temple in Jerusalem. But back then, the beginning of the second temple the situation in Jerusalem was something like this, something like the same as it was before, the same topography. What happened next? About 2,000 years ago, the king named Herod arrived to the land of Israel, and he was not such a great personality, but he was a great builder. In the middle of his days, he decided to do something good for the Jews, and he asked them, what I can do for you so I will repent for my sins against your nation. And the sages said to him, you know how to build. Can you please repair the temple, make it bigger and more glorious and beautiful? And he said, no problem, I can do it. In order to do so, he needed to change completely the topography of the place. As you can see here, he built quarries on the northern at the northern part of the Temple Mountain, and he built 4 gigantic walls, the supportive retaining walls, and above them he placed an artificial platform, which until nowadays is known as the Temple Mountain. And this whole wall, the western wall, together with the 4 other walls, was part of this complex, one of the most beautiful and glorious sacred places in the whole entire world. Just imagine to yourself 488 meters, which is about 1,500 feet long western wall. The height of the western wall was about 120 feet, 40 meters, which is something like 12 stories building high. And the temple itself was one of the biggest buildings ever in the ancient world, which was about 57 meters, which is about 170 and something feet high. What happened next? So we have seen how the Western Wall was built and how it was huge and amazing. In order to see the rest of the story, I'm going to be sharing with you a different presentation through which we will see the rest of the story of the Western Wall. So 2,000 years ago, the temple built by King Herod, and just a second. I see that this presentation gets stuck for a second. I will fix it. Okay. So as you can see, this is the building of King Herod, the beautiful temple, the Temple Mountain, the Western Wall, 57 meters, 170 something feet long Western Wall. That's what you see here. That's what we see today. All this building didn't hold so long. At the year of 70 Common Era, the Romans arrived and destroyed the temple. After the destruction of the temple, the Jewish people were not let even to enter Jerusalem for several hundreds of years, and the Temple Mountain was deserted. You know, the Romans destroyed the walls and the stones, but Jerusalem was already destroyed from inside. The Jewish people were not united. King David built the city of Jerusalem here in order to unify the whole Jewish nation. But when we didn't act according to the spirit of Jerusalem, so Jerusalem, we lost it every time, once and once again. So for several hundred of years, the Temple Mountain is deserted and the Jews are not led here. What happens with the walls? All the 4 different walls, the base of them survived. Only the top of them was destroyed. Then, during the 7th century, the early Muslims, they arrived. And after they arrived to this place, they repaired the Temple Mountain and, of course, repaired the Western Wall. They added several layers to the Roman leftovers of the destruction. And on the top of the mountain, they placed this dome, the Dome of the Rock. Which rock? The foundation stone, of course. So the Temple Mountain already looks a little bit like we see it today, but yet the Western Wall was back then revealed to everyone who would arrive to Jerusalem. Until 700 years ago. 700 years ago, different Islamic dynasty arrived and conquered Jerusalem. Their name was the Mamalux. The Mamalux, they were great fighters. They paid attention to this valley. Remember the valley that I showed you outside with the Western Wall on one side and the living quarters on the other side? So every time when Jerusalem was conquered, and Jerusalem was conquered for 40 times from the times of King David to nowadays, it was conquered from the north. The enemy would enter in the middle, split the city into 2, conquer one side, then another side. So the Mamalukes, they understood that, and that's why they decided to eliminate this valley. How do you eliminate a valley? You build gigantic vaults, arches, and on top of them, they built a whole new neighborhood. And that's how it happened. They buy these arches and the homes of the newest neighborhood, which is the biggest, the part of the Muslim quarter today. That's how it happened, that most of the Western Wall got concealed and only very small part of it stayed revealed. And this is the Kotel that everyone knows. And of course, after the 1967, the Six-Day War, when we returned back to Jerusalem, people started yearning to see the whole Western Wall and started digging under the ground. And we undug here the whole new city. It's like the underground Jerusalem, the city which reveals the story of the city and the Jewish nation inside it throughout the thousands of years. So what we are going to be seeing, we will walk towards the Western Wall. We entered through this entrance. Now we are in room number 3. This is this room. And we will walk by all these different places, and then we will get to the Western Wall and walk all the way to the north until we will get to the end of the Western Wall. So this is going to be our journey. If you have any questions until now, so please, you can write them in the chat or open your microphone. I will take 2 or 3 questions right now if you want to, and then we will move on. Okay, we will continue our journey. We are standing in one of the corridors, underground corridors. It was built through the course of so many different timelines in Jerusalem and epochs. So here on the left, we can see the arches. It was part of the great bridge that was here in Jerusalem 2,000 years ago. Then the right side is part of Roman bathhouses that were built here 300 years later. And then the early Muslims arrived and they added this arch above. And then we arrived and made this a modern floor, and now the people can walk here. So you know, it's very complicated, but very interesting to dig inside Jerusalem to discover its secrets. And here at this place, the history of Jerusalem is not written in the books. Sometimes we can just see it on the stones, and each one of the stones is telling the story of Jerusalem. And one of the stones is this one, F-R-E-N-T. F-R-E-N-T. It has nothing to do with warring, of course, and this sign is not in English. It's Roman, it's Latin. And in Latin, frat is actually the first 4 letters of the name of the 10th Roman legion, Fretensis. That was something like the special force of the Roman Empire. Every great battle, every important battle for the Roman Empire, that was the 10th Roman legion involved. And as you can see here, Legio ex Fretensis, F-R-E-N-T. It was led by Vespasian and then by Titus, and that was the legion that destroyed the temple. The name of the legion, Fretensis, is very, very, very interesting. That it is named Fretensis after a great battle. As you can see on this drawing, the great battle over the Straits of Sicilia, something like 100 of years before it arrived to Jerusalem. But what is even more interesting is that the time when the legion of the Straits, that's the name, Fretensis, Fretum is the Straits, and Fretensis is the legion of the Straits. And what is very interesting is that the legion of the Straits, that's the name of the legion, is destroying Jerusalem during the times which according to the Jewish tradition we call Ben HaMetzarim, in between the Straits. So everything is kind of interesting in Jerusalem and fits one another. And there is another very interesting historical point. This 10th legion stayed in Jerusalem for 210 years after destruction of the city and the destruction of the temple. Why? If it's the special force of the Roman Empire, if it's the most special force, why you live it in Jerusalem? So from this point, we understand how important Jerusalem was to the Romans. They left their special force to guard Jerusalem, and especially to guard Jerusalem from the Jews so the Jews will never return to the city. And after 210 years, this 10th Roman legion left the city. So it was so important for the Roman Empire and for so many other peoples. As you can see, we continue digging here all the time. Right now, we have already 2 ongoing archaeological digs. When these pictures were taken, there were 3 archaeological digs ongoing. One of them was behind these walls. Right now, already this wall doesn't exist, and there is an entrance down here to another tour that we are developing right now. We are moving under the arches, and all these great arches are part of a great bridge that was here 2,000 years ago. We are getting down, and we are walking in between the arches of the great bridge built here in Jerusalem 2,000 years ago. So as you can see, the archaeological digs never stop here, and you can see here this this curtain, right, and some of the works happening yet. I remember something like 2 years ago, I was sitting here with an archaeologist digging this place under the level of this gate, of this bridge over here at the lowest level. And while they are digging there, you know, I'm not only one of the guides at the Western Wall Heritage Foundation, I'm also educational content director, so I'm developing tours and educational programs. So my job is kind of, you know, to get to the archaeologist and to understand what they do, to understand what they see, how they experience it, and then so I can be able to deliver it further on. So I'm sitting with one of them. Her name is Shlomit, and I'm sitting and I'm asking, you know, can you please share with me the experiences of your digging here there? And she says to me, Shlomo, just a second, and she takes something out of the ground. And I look at her, and her face, her eyes are shining, and ask her, Shlomit, what did you find? And she tells me, Shlomo, this is a broken wine glass from the times of the Second Temple. I'm looking at her like, what? Just in front of my eyes, you found something? It's like, you know, my ancestor from 2,000 years ago saying hi to me. And she said, yes, like imagine to yourself, your great father or mother sitting here in Jerusalem 2,000 years ago, even maybe during Passover Seder, and drinking wine from this wine glass. And that was incredible, just in front of my eyes. So this is a little bit about digging in Jerusalem, and it has lots of different secrets around here. So we arrived to one of the last of the arches of this great bridge, and I would like to show you where are we on different drawings and pictures. So number one, this is the global picture of the Temple Mountain as it was here 2,000 years ago. As you can see, this is the Temple Mountain, the Western Wall, the beautiful temple on top, and this is the Great Bridge. I will make a close up to the area of the Great Bridge, and here we are. We started our journey at one of the first arches of this Great Bridge. We walked by lots of them, and now we are standing just right here by the one before the last one of the arches of this Great Bridge. I will share with you in a second another drawing of the place. So you will see it from this angle. As you can see, this is the last arch. That's the entrance to the Temple Mountain. This is the Western Wall, and this is the place where we are. As you can see, it's the upper level of the arches of the Great Bridge. Below us, we have much more. So why this bridge was built and what it was built for? In order to do so, I would like to try to use your imagination. And now we are facing towards the south. And let's try to go to the south, something like 7 miles. So 7 miles from here, and actually we can in the virtual reality, I can travel together with you there. I will open the map. This is the Google Maps that we planted inside. This is the Temple Mountain. As you can see, the Dome of the Rock, the Western Wall, and we are right now standing, as you can see, this street. It's actually nowadays, there's this street which is just right above this great bridge. So we are standing just right here. So why this bridge was built? This bridge was built in order to bring water to the Temple Mountain of Jerusalem. It was built here about 2,100 years ago by Hashmonaim, the Hasmoneans. So what happened? After returning Jerusalem back to our hands, after lighting the menorah, and sometimes we say Nes Gadol Hayapo. These are the letters that you can see on the dreidel in Israel. When we say Nes Gadol Hayapo, it's mamash po. It's just right here. So after all this, they wanted to bring water, flowing pure spring water to the Temple Mountain. So in order to do so, you will need to find a spring which is going to be higher than the Temple Mountain. And so where did they go? They went to the south. And they went to the south to the city called Beit Lechem. And here at the area of Beit Lechem, they found, as you can see here, these 3 blue dots. This is a spring which is called the Solomon's Pools, Brechot Shlomo. And from this place, this is only 7 miles, but they needed to carve a pipe, an aqueduct that will take it to the Temple Mountain. And these pools are only 110 feet higher than the Temple Mountain. So this is amazing engineering of Hasmoneans, of Hashmonaim. From here, they carved through the mountains, they built bridges, and they brought the water to the Temple Mountain, all this area, and the length of this aqueduct is about 17 miles long. And so that's how they brought water to the Temple Mountain. And the last leg of this bridge was just right here above our heads. So if we would be standing here during the times of Hashmonaim, of the Hasmoneans, we would probably hear the rush of the water above our heads, bringing fresh water from far away to the Temple Mountain. So that's how this bridge was built for the first time. And I say for the first time because this bridge was destroyed several times. And for the first time, and all the times, by the way, it was destroyed by the Jews. And all the times, it was destroyed by the Jews during the civil wars between different types of Jews in Jerusalem. And this is part of the sad story of Jerusalem, right? When we are not united, we lose the city and we lose our independence. And that's actually one of the stories how we lost our Hasmonean Judean kingdom's independence. And the story will take us to the last queen of Hasmoneans. Her name is Shlom Tzion. Shlom Tzion, she was an amazing queen. She brought prosperity to Jerusalem. She brought education. She brought peace. She was amazing. But there was one thing. When she passed away, she had 2 sons. One's name is Horkenus, Yohanan Horkenus, and another's one is Yehuda Aristobulus. And they started fighting over the crown. And when I say fighting, that means the Jewish army of Horkenus is fighting against the Jewish army of Aristobulus. And the blood is shed on this bridge above. And as a part of the civil war, they broke this bridge for the first time. Then they went to the Romans and they said, hey, Romans, can you help us to decide which of us is going to be the king over Judea? Romans said, are you kidding? You are the Maccabim, you are the Hashmonaim, this mighty kingdom that everyone is afraid of in the Middle East, and now you became so weak that you fight one against another? Probably that's the time to conquer you. And that's how the Romans arrived and conquered Judea. And that's how we lost our independent Jewish state back then. We continue moving on, and after several steps out, we are under the arches, and these arches already now, the arches of the Mamalux. Remember the Mamalux that built here the arches 700 years ago in order to raise the level of the city and eliminate the valley? So we are under these Mamalux arches. And remember I told you that some of the arches, they just covered the western wall and the houses covered the western wall? That's what we see. This is the western wall. Ze hakotel. And these arches, they cover it. And under these arches, after we uncovered it, we decided, to build this beautiful synagogue just right in front of the western wall. So once it happened to me, it will sound like a joke. But two Chinese tourists get lost in the tunnels. And I work in the tunnels, and I was walking by and I see them lost, and I asked them, what are you looking for? And they said, we are looking for exit. Can you help us, please? And I told them, of course, okay, I will help you. What happened? They said, we were part of the tour and we just did a selfie and another selfie and another selfie. And then we just suddenly paid attention that no one is around us. So we get lost. Okay, we are walking by. And when we walk by this hole, they say, wow, this is amazing. From when this hole is, from when these arches are. And I tell them, oh, nothing special. It's 700 years old only. And they're looking at me like, only? That's the word that you use? 700 is only for you? And I tell them, of course, guys, it's Jerusalem. 700 years, it's like almost contemporary history here. And then after I told them this, I analyzed it. I thought, wow, this is, amazing city with amazing history. Anywhere we dig, it's like, you can just blind dig down, raise something, and it's several thousand years old and telling us the story of our people, the Jewish people, living in this land thousands of years ago and returning it together with you right now, even though it's through the virtual reality. Okay, we have arrived to the Kotel. This is the western wall. Remember the arches of the Mamalux? These are the arches of our heads, and this is the western wall. Remember I told you that above the original part of the western wall, the early Muslims, when they added and repaired the western wall. So these are the stones of the renovation of the early Muslims. But from this point and down, this is all original from the times of the temple. And from here, I would like to pay attention to the glory of the workers of King Herod, because please pay attention. Every stone here is so precise. Every stone, it's like a piece of art. Very, very fine work. And I don't know if you tried ever in your life. I tried to do so. I just took once upon a time a chisel and a hammer, and I took some stones, and I decided to try, how you work with a chisel and stones. And it's so complicated, and the stone breaks apart, and it doesn't work like you want. Okay, I'm not a professional, but it's not a simple job. And to create this kind of stone with all this perfection, it's so beautiful and amazing. And if you're already, speaking about the beautiful stones, each one of the stones is surrounded by this kind of frame, the margins. So please take a look at this stone. This is all one stone. This is all one stone of the western wall, and that's not even the end of this stone. Okay, please imagine to yourself how the stone was, because now it is broken partly by the Romans, but back then the height of the stone was up to this point. It's about 3.5 meters high. And the length of this stone, I will measure it from the beginning to the end. I will walk to the end of the stone. And I will try to do the measurement. I will throw the pointer over there, and I will walk together with you and fix it so it will be a little bit more precise. And also that's the way that we will see really the length, the whole length of the stone. And okay, we are by the end, and now we'll make it a little bit more precise. And here we are. It's a little bit more than 13.5 meters long. So the stone is actually 13.6 meters long. The measurement tool in the virtual reality is not quite precise. Okay, something like 44 feet long. So this is one stone of the Western Wall. We also measured the depth of the stone, and we got to the conclusion that it's 4.5 meters deep. So it takes us to the weight of the stone. And the weight of this stone, is about 570 metric tons. 570 tons, it's just, sometimes even, it's so hard even to realize, it's so hard even to imagine what this weight is. So I translated it to several different measurement standards. Okay, so let's speak in elephants. The stone's weight is like 100 huge African elephants, or 200 medium-sized Indian ones. The stone's weight is something like 4 huge blue whales, or the stone's weight is like 2 jumbo jet Boeing 747 Type C plane, full capacity. 2 of them. This is one stone in the Western Wall. And so if you see the building ability of King Herod here, the stone is #1 in the land of Israel. It's the biggest stone that was carved and moved here. Is there a chance it was there when they carved it? It couldn't be, because the bedrock here is another 12 layers of regular stones under our feet. And we know that the quarries were up to the north from here. So we understand that maybe it was, slided somehow to this point, but yet to put it precisely with this accuracy at this place, and it was moved, it was carved, and it was moved around at this place. So the stone is really one of the secrets. We still don't really understand and know how they move the stone here. But when I was standing here with one of the archaeologists that was digging here, his name is Dan Bahat. So he told, this stone is teaching us humility, because not everything we can know, learn, and explain. So this stone is unexplainable. We are moving a little bit more to the north, and now we have arrived to one of the entrances to the Temple Mountain. As you can see here, this is one of the entrances, and this entrance is blocked. I will show you where we are standing on, in comparison to how Jerusalem looked like during the times of the Second Temple. So the Western Wall, we had 4 entrances, 2 upper ones and 2 lower ones. And this lower entrance is the entrance where we are standing, just right here. And this entrance right now is blocked. So what's the story of the entrance and why it is blocked? We will need to go back to the times of the early Muslims. So when the early Muslims arrived to Jerusalem, it was during the 7th century, about 1,400 years ago. So they repaired the Western Wall and the Temple Mountain, and together with that, they did another important thing for the Jewish nation. They allowed the Jews to return to Jerusalem. And so the Jews would like to go as close as possible to the holiest place, to the place where once upon a time there was a temple. So they arrived to the Western Wall because this one is the closest. And here they found this entrance, And according to some of the historians and archaeologists, just right here inside this entrance, they built a synagogue. And they called the synagogue the cave. That was the name of the synagogue. And maybe here you can understand it, right? Because this entrance is actually underground entrance, underground cave to the Temple Mountain, and then the stairs are going up from there to the surface. So for several hundreds of years, that was the center of Jewish life in Jerusalem until 1099. What happened in 1099? One of the disasters of Jerusalem. The Crusaders arrived. These knights, the Crusaders, when they arrived to Jerusalem, they slaughtered all the Jewish and Muslim population of Jerusalem, and they were so proud of it. I read several diaries of these knights, and all of them tell something like this: I'm riding my horse, and my horse is riding up to its knees in the blood of the heretics. Okay, so this is the description of what was happening here in Jerusalem, like Venice, but not in the best way. And we know that together with that, they destroyed and they burned the synagogues here, and one of them is this one. And then they blocked this entrance. And by blocking this entrance, it's as if to say, you know, Jews, you have no hope to return to Jerusalem anymore. What I love about this place is that just right above here, as you can see, there is a glass ceiling over there, which is a glass floor of another place. And I will go around the corner together with you. You know, in the physical tour, this place is not part of the tour. And on the physical tour, I cannot take the groups over there because it's one of the synagogues in the underground tunnels. But in the virtual reality, you know, no one is sitting right now there, and I can take you there. The synagogue and all these tunnels are here because of this man, Rav Meir Yehuda Getz. He was head of the Kabbalistic yeshiva in Jerusalem, and also he was one of the rabbis. He was a rabbi of the Western Wall. And that's his photograph when he was an officer in the army of Israel. And he was the one who, you know, found the funds in order to dig. And he was, you know, he was like the spirit of this whole thing. And when he arrived here, and the archaeologists and the historians told him, listen, probably that's where the synagogue named the cave was, he said, oh, it was destroyed by Crusaders, but we have to rebuild it, at least partly. And that's where he built a very small synagogue, just right here, just at the same place. And you know, it's so amazing that despite all these years and all the tribulations and all the history of Jerusalem, we are back to our place, we are back to our heritage, and we are back to our holy sites as much as possible. So walking just several steps from there, we have arrived to the holiest place, as I may say, in the Western Wall, because this place is just opposite to Holy of Holies of the temple. The foundation stone, the place where during the first temple, the Ark of the Covenant was standing. The second temple also, you know, the great priest entering only once a year on the Day of Atonement on Yom Kippur. So it is here 97 meters, about 300 feet from here only. This is the closest place to the foundation stone, to the foundation rock. And because of that, this place is considered to be a place of great power. The phone call with God here considered, you know, like local call, low cost local call, and for lots of people, this place is really significant. So during the physical tours that I'm doing here, almost in every group, when I mention this fact, someone is standing and just spending a minute in prayer, because this place is the closest as much as possible to where, according to the Jewish tradition, all the prayers are going up to heaven. This virtual reality is great with its ability to deliver the space and the resolution. You can see the stone. You can almost and especially if you're watching it through a bigger screen, you can almost touch the stone and its texture. But there is one thing that is not so great about this technology, and it's not taking good to up and down. As you can see, almost everywhere up is blurred, and also the down. So I asked the company, I want people to see how actually the Western Wall deep is, because when I tell you, there are another 10 layers here. Okay, but when you see it and you see the depth, it's much more significant. So I tried, and this is the best shot that they took. I looked at a lot of different others. So as you can see, under the floor of where we are standing, there are 10 another layers of the Western Wall up to its bottom. And so the foundation of the Western Wall is much, much deeper from the place where we are standing. I'm moving on to the north, and we are moving through this long tunnel. The Western Wall is here on our right all the time, is following us. While we are moving forwards, we can see under the floor right here a window with another stone of the Western Wall, but it's here because of the destruction. When the Romans were destroying the temple, they also damaged the Temple Mountain and the Western Wall. This photograph is also at the Western Wall, but at the most southern part of it. And there also they found this pile of the stones of the Western Wall that was destroyed. The Romans destroying the Western Wall just were pulling the stones down, and they were falling and crumbling here on this pavement. And one of these stones we found here while digging. So there are several other advantages of the virtual reality. One of them, let's see that I can also fly a little bit through the tunnel and get to the places where I want to spend more time. And also I can stand here and tell you the stories of the place. In the physical reality, barely two people can walk by. So it's impossible to describe what we see. And here at this place, as you can see, the stones of King Herod and King Herod builders are switched by a different style of the wall. And what you see here is actually at this place, the bedrock of Mount Moriah is revealed, because the bedrock of Mount Moriah is higher on the northern part. So King Herod says, why, I want this whole wall precise and exact. So he just chiseled part of this wall. But every time when I come here, I feel like really special electricity, because this is one of the only places where you can touch and see the original Mount Moriah. It's like when I'm speaking about the times of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, right, or King David and King Solomon, this is one of the only places that you can touch actually the times physically with your hands, the times of the ancestors before the Second Temple, before King Herod, before this all. So this is a very special place for me. Every time I come here, and just just to think that 3,000 years ago, King Solomon is praying to have wisdom, so he will be able to judge justly his nation. And until I don't know how many years ago, all the world was in the chaos of conquering each other, slaughtering each other, enslaving each other. And at this place, 3,000 years ago, already people were striving for peace and for justice and for values. This is very incredible. So after walking a little bit, we are getting by the end, almost by the end of the Western Wall. And that's where you can see the floor of the street that was here by the Western Wall. So the guides of the Western Wall, we have some jokes, and we like to think about all this kind of ways to call places. And here it was obvious how will we call this street? So there is a street, and it's by the wall, by the Western Wall. So we called it, this is our Jerusalem Wall Street. Okay, so welcome to the Wall Street of Jerusalem. It was one of the central streets of Jerusalem, and I will show it to you once again on the global picture of Jerusalem 2,000 years ago. There was a street that was here all the way by the Western Wall and going even down to the city of David, something like 1 mile long street. The street was about 13 meters wide. That's about 42 feet wide. So this was the width of the street, and sorry, 39, 38. Okay, something like this, and that was the main place. That was the main place in Jerusalem where you come, where you prepare yourself for going up to the Temple Mountain, maybe, I don't know, buying a small souvenir, going back home. Before we will get to the street, and I will tell the story of the pilgrimage to the city of Jerusalem during the times of the temple, I want to show you something very unique that only on the virtual tour is available. And here we go. First, let's start from this staircase. This staircase is part of the staircase of the Hasmonean fortress that back then, during the times of Hasmoneans, this part of the Temple Mountain was not part of the Temple Mountain. And there was a fortress here, the fortress that Hasmoneans built in order to guard the Temple Mountain from the Greeks. This is the original staircase. Maybe, you know, even imagine to yourself Yehuda HaMaccabi going down to deliver some water buckets, you know, to the top of the mountain, to the top of the fortress. When King Herod arrived, he disabled half of this well, of this water cistern that was on the bottom of the Hasmonean fortress. But the second half he repaired and made it as a water cistern for the pilgrims coming to Jerusalem. Now, together with you, we will go down under these bars. This is very narrow entrance. I remember I could barely fit down when I came here with this company, which was creating this virtual reality on all this 3D photographs. And here we are. We went down. This pit and down the ladder. As you can see, that the works are not finished here yet. This is just right in the middle. And we are now standing under the 2,000 years old street of the times of King Herod. As you can see, even some of the stalactites happened to appear here during the 2,000 years of history. Yeah, 2,000 years old stalactites. And this is the original plaster of the cistern and the street, which is above. So we are inside the water cistern that was first built by Hashmonaim, by Hasmoneans, and repaired and changed a little bit by King Herod's builders in order to supply water to the pilgrims. But that's not everything. I remember when I was learning about the tunnels, the archaeologist who was digging here, he told me, listen, if you by any chance will get down there once, you have to crawl through this tunnel. He said you will go down the ladder and you will turn to the left, and there's going to be a very narrow tunnel. You have to climb it. I told him, okay, I will. And you can see I did. The candles, that's what I lit here because, you know, we didn't have the electricity, and it was only one day when we got a very special permission to make a photograph of it. And he told me, you have to climb through this tunnel because this tunnel is from the times of the first temple, Hezekiah, king of Judah. It's like 2,800 years ago. And I said, whoa, that's amazing, but how do you know? And he said, young man, it's all about fashion. Fashion in the world is about everything. And there always was a different fashion in the ancient world especially for shelves for candles. Or where do you place your candles? And during the times of Hezekiah, king of Judah, the candles were placed into triangular form niches which are carved inside the rock, inside the stone. And he said, when you will climb through this tunnel, on the right, you will see one of these niches. And that's how we know that this tunnel is from the times of the first temple. And I remember when I climbed here, I took out this candle out of my pocket and I took a lighter, and I could barely light the candle out of, all this excitement. I'm lighting a candle at the same place where some Jews were lighting candles here in Jerusalem 2,800 years ago. It's like really the same spot, the same place. And it was so exciting. When we entered here and we continued from this tunnel, it brought us to another tunnel, which is not undug yet fully. And this tunnel is already from the times of King Herod. This is part of the underground sewage, right? We are in the valley, so lots of rains, and you need to take out the water. And we made some photographs of this place too. It was very, very muddy here. And I remember I returned back home, all my pants full of mud. And when I returned back home, I told my kids, they all ran up to me and said, "Hey, Daddy, how did it get so dirty?" And I told them, this is dirt from the times of King Herod's second temple. And they said, "Whoa, if so, it's not called dirty anymore. It's, it's beautiful." Yeah, so there are so many places which are still not revealed fully. But in this virtual reality, I was able to climb together with you through this tunnel from the first temple. And this is one of the most ancient things that we found in the underground tunnels here under the Western Wall. We will return back on the top. What was happening on the street that we climbed right now under? Hundreds of thousands of people coming to Jerusalem during the holidays, Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot. Once the Romans asked the Jews to count how many Jews are there in Rome, in the Roman Empire, and especially in the land of Israel. They said, okay, let's count the amount of the Passover lambs which are eaten here in Jerusalem on Passover, because most of the Jews would come to Jerusalem, and they counted. It was 255,700. 255,700. This was the number of the lambs, and they say for each one, it was eaten by 10 to 20 people. So let's multiply it. We will get 3.5 million Jews arrived back then that year to Jerusalem. Everyone united, different, and staying by people's homes. No one was staying at street, and no hotels. No one is paying money. You're just welcomed by the people that used to live here in Jerusalem. And that was the most beautiful time of Jerusalem, when really Jerusalem was uniting us all, when people from so many different types and kinds of backgrounds coming to this one place, to the streets of Jerusalem, celebrating the holidays together. It's like, like when all the family gathers around the granny and grandpa's home for Passover, right? And all the cousins suddenly come back and feel once again one big family. That's what was happening in Jerusalem back then. Jerusalem would become our home, and Jerusalem would become the place where we all return and feel united and feel connected. Our time is over, and I would like to return just for a second to the Western Wall itself. The Kotel, HaKotel שכולם מכירים, the Kotel that everyone knows. This is the Western Wall that everyone knows. It's much bigger, it's much longer. I tried to reveal you during this 1 hour some of the secrets of Jerusalem and some of the secret places. I tried to deliver you some of the stories and some of the meanings of Jerusalem. Jerusalem is much more. It has 70 names. It has 70 facets. And that means that for every person, it has at least one face to smile to. And from this place, I would like to wish once again to everyone, Leshana Haba'a Birushalayim Abnuya, all the best, great health,
Amen.
and stay well. And here we are.
Thank you.
תודה רבה, שלמה. It was wonderful ending for our day. Thank you everyone for joining us for one tour or for all the 5 tours. I hope you enjoy to travel in Israel. And like you, I hope that next year, next Yom HaAtzmaut, we will be able to actually walk and tour and see from our own eyes Israel. So thank you very much. Chag Atzmaut Sameach, happy Yom HaAtzmaut, and we hope to see all of you in our next event in 3 hours, and we will all see together and celebrate together with the Chagit Yasso trivia night, Israeli chef, and a lot of great things to do together. So Chag Atzmaut Sameach, and Toda Shlomo, and I'm sure we'll see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for all the warm comments in the chat. Thank you very much.